Television Network. This is the 10 o'clock news on Q2, Montana's news leader.
Good evening, everyone. Thanks for joining us tonight. I'm Jeanelle Slade.
And I'm Jay Cohn. A Billings man is dead. A police officer on leave after a second officer-involved shooting in Billings in less than 24 hours.
What started as an apparent domestic issue quickly turned into a holdup at the Lucky Lil's Casino on Grand, then escalated into a fatal encounter between police and the suspect.
Officers say the man threatened patrons in the casino and disobeyed police orders.
Q2's Asia Gore brings us the details.
This was the scene around 3 a.m. Tuesday, not long after police shot and killed a man inside. Hours earlier,
the female caller reported that her ex-husband, a 44-year-old male, was at her house causing a disturbance by knocking on windows, doors, and possibly waving a handgun in the air.
The woman said her ex-husband threatened to rob a casino, then left.
Officers knew the suspect from past dealings and that there was an active temporary restraining order that needed to be served.
Police located the man here outside the Lucky Lil's Casino and ordered him to surrender. Instead, he went inside.
Once inside, the officers saw the suspect waving the gun and threatening people. Patrons were yelling, screaming, ducking for cover, or looking to escape.
Officers ordered the man to drop the weapon.
The suspect failed to comply and yelled at one point that he had hostages. The officer, believing lives were in jeopardy, fired multiple rounds from his patrol rifle.
The shots, fired by Sergeant Brett Becker, took the man down.
The suspect began to reach for something on the floor. Believing that it was the handgun, the officer fired again and downed the suspect.
The man was taken to the hospital where he was pronounced dead. No one else was injured. In Billings, I'm Asia Gore, MTN News.
Thanks, Asia. Now, officers learned after the shooting the man's weapon was actually a pellet gun.
And it's unclear whether the man was under the influence of any drugs or alcohol. So far, his name has not been released.
Authorities have released the name of a man shot and killed by police Monday morning.
29-year-old Zachary Hoven was shot 3 times in the upper torso as he charged at Billings police officers wielding a knife. As officers entered the apartment building on North 32nd Street, Hoven stormed out of his apartment but refused to drop his weapon.
Now, the officer who shot Hoven and a second officer who tased him are both now on leave.
The discussion of gun use in America as intense today as perhaps it's ever been. In Cody, Wyoming, one gun maker is manufacturing the most powerful short-range semi-automatic weapon available to the public. Q2's Dustin Kleeman tonight brings us a look at its unmatched power and what the company hopes to achieve.
It can handle anything from prairie dogs to pachyderms to Peterbilts. Truck stopping power in a platform weighing less than 10 pounds.
Got a little bit better defense than bear spray.
That's how Bighorn Armory markets the AR-500 semi-auto rifle.
Our guns are designed around the concept of dealing with dangerous game. Like all of our products, it's a big bore product. That's really our focus, and it's been our focus from day one.
Bighorn Armory operates just outside the town of Cody in a shop on a private residence. The small crew takes pride in their work. Products like its lever guns that will stand the test of time.
Our first product was a lever gun chambered in .500 Smith & Wesson. Now, that is the ultimate bear gun. I mean, if you're going up in the woods and you encounter a grizzly bear and you're not ready for him, and he decides he wants to eat you or do something bad to you, you at least have a chance.
For $2,000, you could purchase one of the most powerful weapons available to the public.
Oh my goodness!
As the political wind can shift the industry, Buckle attributes the discussion of gun regulations to the most recent increase in demand.
They're pushing the gun control aspect of it, so demand is starting to go up again. We're seeing it right now in terms of parts availability, parts that were readily available 60 days ago. Supplies are kind of dried up because a lot of people have bought them. So it's anecdotal, and it's the only thing that I can go by on that stuff, but we see it.
Buckle believes the AR-500 power should be available to the common citizen.
There's the bullet, because it cut there, and hit here.
Yeah. The Second Amendment is about having the same guns as the military has. I mean, that's, if you read the guys who wrote it and the guys who debated it in the Continental Congress, that's what it's all about. The idea is everybody's part of the militia, so everybody should have access to weapons that are bigger, better, that can do the job against all enemies, foreign and domestic.
But Bighorn Armory hopes to also market the weapon to the military.
I mean, what's the difference in when you feel this power as opposed to what you shot as a Marine?
Compared to an M16, there is no comparison. This is much better option, much more stopping power, easy platform to manipulate. Personally, I think it's a no-brainer.
We make the most powerful lever gun in existence right now. We make the most powerful AR in existence right now. That's been our focus, is to make the one that does the job the best.
In Cody, I'm Dustin Kleeman.
Yeah, oh, that was so worth it.
About time.
MTN News.
Dustin tells us, according to the Bureau of Alcohol, Tobacco, and Firearms, gun manufacturing in the U.S. has increased 43% over the past 5 years. Last year alone, more than 25 million firearm background checks were conducted.
The man charged with providing drugs that led to the 2016 death of a Billings woman will spend 90 days in jail. Daniel McGrail was charged after Montana State student 20-year-old Natalie Dietrich overdosed on an opioid-based drug in a Bozeman music venue. Today, a judge sentenced McGrail to 90 days, 5 years suspended, and a $5,000 fine. Now, Dietrich's boyfriend, Jeffrey Qualls, also overdosed but recovered. He pleaded guilty to a lesser charge for giving the drug to Dietrich.
Facebook CEO Mark Zuckerberg spent more than 5 hours testifying before a Senate committee on Capitol Hill today.
The hearing focused on why the company failed to protect the data of millions of its users. Angelica Alvarez reports from Washington.
It was my mistake, and I'm sorry.
A contrite Mark Zuckerberg appeared before congressional lawmakers Tuesday, apologizing for Facebook's data abuse scandal.
It will take some time to work through all the changes we need to make across the company, but I'm committed to getting this right.
In 2015, 87 million Facebook users had their data harvested by a third-party app, posing as a personality quiz. The data was sold to Cambridge Analytica, a political consulting firm that worked for the Trump campaign.
We've seen the apology tours before. I don't see how you can change your business model unless there are specific rules of the road.
Zuckerberg pushed back, pledging to investigate apps more closely and even work with Congress on federal regulation.
We will commit to that. I think that that's an important conversation to have.
Zuckerberg's first appearance here on Capitol Hill lasted nearly 5 hours, during which he addressed concerns about Russia using social media to meddle in upcoming elections.
This is an arms race. I mean, they're going to keep on getting better at this, and we need to invest in keeping on getting better at this too.
The 33-year-old also confirmed some Facebook employees have been interviewed as part of special counsel Robert Mueller's Russia probe. Zuckerberg's testimony continues Wednesday when he appears before a House committee. Angelica Alvarez, CBS News, Capitol Hill.
Montana Senior Senator John Tester got his opportunity to question Zuckerberg at today's hearing.
The senator vowed to hold Facebook accountable for allowing the private information from millions of Americans to be stolen by foreign interests. His Q&A with the Facebook CEO included this exchange.
You said, and I think multiple times during this hearing, that I own the data on Facebook if it's my data.
Yes.
And I'm going to tell you that I think that sounds really good to me. But in practice, let's think about this for a second. You're making about $40 billion a year on the data. I'm not making any money on it. It feels like you own the data.
Yes. So, Senator, when I say it's your data, what we mean is that you have control over how it's used on Facebook. You clearly need to give Facebook a license to use it within our system, or else the service doesn't work.
Yeah, I know, and this license has been brought up many times today, and I'm going to be quiet in just 1 second, Mr. Chairman. But the fact is the license is very thick, maybe intentionally so people get tired of reading it and don't want to.
And Tester said reports that up to 87 million Facebook users had their personal information shared without their consent shows Facebook failed in its responsibility to protect American liberties.
Still to come on tonight's 10 o'clock news, sugar, spice, and everything nice. That's what this Montana-made barbecue is made of. We'll grill the founders right after the break.
And later in sports, Q2's Athlete of the Week knows just how to sweeten this cold spring sports season.
And coming up in weather, we're tweaking the numbers on how much snow we think we might get out of that winter storm watch. We'll tell you the answers coming up in just a few more minutes.
You're watching MTN News with Jay Cohn and Jeanelle Slade. Storm Tracker weather with Bob McGuire. And sports with Scott Green. This is the 10 o'clock news on Q2, Montana's news.